You guys know that here at To The Redline, we love cheap speed. I mean, let's face it, not everybody out there's got $50, $60, or $100,000 to spend on their dream supercar. So what if your budget is tapped out at about 25 to 30 grand? Well, that's the reason why we added this particular vehicle to our long-term fleet last year. And I'm proud to say that it's been a full year already, and that year has gone by way too quickly. Now, a lot of you have been asking me, what's going on with the 2010 GTI? Well, today, I'm going to share that with you. Now, this car, when we took delivery of it back in June of 2012, it had about 30,000 miles on it. Today, it's just going over 43,000, just under 44,000 miles on it. So we did get put a good amount of miles, just almost 15,000 miles in 1 year for this vehicle. And I gotta say, the GTI has lived up to the reputation that this MK6 has held ever since it came out. Now, with an all-new version set to come out next year, the MK7, we've already shown you guys a video of it at the Detroit Auto Show. I gotta tell you that MK7 has a lot to live up to with this MK6. And this particular one is a first model year. 2010 is when it rolled out. Our particular tester is somewhat of a more modest example. Back in 2010, there was no GTI with navigation or GTI with convenience. Instead, you purchased your GTI in either 2- or 4-door configuration, and they only came in hatchbacks. There was an Autobahn trim that rolled in the leather, the Dyna Audio, the navigation system. But other than that, your options were a la carte. Ours has the sunroof and the touchscreen radio option, as well as the Bluetooth. You can see this one's got more of the lonely 17-inch wheels. They are a little bit on the plain side. Volkswagen actually recycled these wheels back from the previous MK5. Now, those red brake calipers are actually standard equipment on a GTI. Particular exterior color is called the candy white, and it matches up really well with the red paint, the red on the grille, and then the red brake calipers. Now, GTIs all come with that standard dual exhaust outlet. The car has a pretty nice sounding stock exhaust. You do not get the Euro LED taillights even available on any Golf or GTI in the United States. The MK7 will be bringing us the LED taillights finally. And you can see our 2-door configuration is more of the classic design. I would have particularly preferred the 4-door just because I like a little bit of practicality with my speed. You can see we're also missing the HID headlight option. Now, throughout the years, the GTI did get an update in 2012 with some new wheel designs for the Autobahn and those LED running accents. And then for 2013, you get those new trims, or the new special trims. I believe it's called the GTI with the Performance Pack, or there's the Wolfsburg Edition, which gives you a different set of wheels, as well as the LED running lights. Kind of special trims here and there to make this car a little bit fresh and keep it fresh in anticipation of the new model that's coming out next year. Now, when you look at the interior of the 2010 GTI, or a 2013 if you guys are looking for a new one, not much has changed from the 2010 to one that you can buy on the showroom today. You can see our particular one comes with these plaid seats. This is a traditional GTI thing here, and a lot of people either have a love it or hate it relationship with the plaid seats. I like them. It makes the interior pop. It gives it that kind of uniqueness to it, and it's been on GTIs ever since the original. You can see there's a lot of red stitching here. There's red contrasting stitching on the seats, the steering wheel, some of the panels, the shifter, and that flat bottom steering wheel is standard equipment on a GTI. I love the steering wheel. I still love it to this day. Now, when you step inside the vehicle, just like every other Golf, it's really easy to get in and out of. You have a very nice, clean, simple interior that's very Audi-esque in its design and its materials. Now, push-button start is available, but we do not have it here. So here's just the standard Volkswagen key. It is a switchblade key. It's a very sturdy-feeling switchblade key, so you have to stick the key in the ignition here. And you can see here you have your traditional GTI instrumentation here with the traditional Volkswagen dinger. And of course, ours is the 6-speed model, the more traditional setup. There is a 6-speed dual clutch available for those of you who live in an area with a lot of traffic. Now, of course, the engine starts up with the traditional nice, deep, turbocharged snarl that these cars have become known for, and it's essentially an Audi engine. Now, the interior of this car is still great. You know, with 43,429 miles on it, there's not a squeak or rattle. Everything in here still feels brand new. You have these carbon fiber looking plastic with the silver trim contrasting here and there, a soft touch dashboard material, and it almost feels it pretty much just feels like an Audi in here. Both the windows are automatic up and down. Since this car is the coupe, there's only 2 windows. If you get the 4-door, it has up and down for the back windows as well. The door panels are also soft touch materials. You have a real aluminum door handle here. You have padding right here, basically the same seat fabric, and it is softly padded. Down here it is hard plastic, but one thing I do like is how Volkswagen puts some fuzzy stuff right there in the door pocket. And of course, ours has the touchscreen radio. This thing, I gotta say, Volkswagen's getting ready to replace this interface, and it's a very dated interface. Just in terms of how the Bluetooth system works. Volkswagen, I believe, has updated in the 13 models. But of course, this is the 6.5-inch touchscreen. If you guys go with the navigation model, you actually downgrade to a 5-inch touchscreen, except on the 2010 models. The 2010 models had a 30 gigabyte hard drive with a 6.5-inch screen. So those of you who have it, hold on to that, because that's a more rare system. Now, your media sources here are pretty much the standard stuff. You have AM, FM, satellite radio. You have media here, which is your Bluetooth streaming, CD, SD card slot, which is right there, which you'll never use. And then, of course, your iPod jack, which is not in there, but there's your glove box that is damped. It's a nicely good size. We do use it quite frequently. Your media input here is actually right here. This is Volkswagen's MDI connector. You can get another connector online. This one goes to an iPod. You can get just like a USB dongle if you want. Your aux port is right there. You can see here this armrest still slides and adjusts, and it's lined with the same contrasting stitching and fabric. Now the touchscreen responsiveness in this thing is all right. You can see here when you tap it, sometimes it can be a little bit on the slow side. I don't mind the graphics for it. You can automatically like tune if you want to like go to a certain station, just tune it in there and hit OK. It works relatively well. One thing I do wish it did was when you are loaded up with the Bluetooth streaming, it doesn't display meta tags, it doesn't display album art when you're connected to your iPod. And then when you're on the phone system, it's very simple and basic. It literally just, the whole screen just turns black and it just says on your phone. So the newer Volkswagen systems, I believe, are giving you a little bit more of an elaborate screen. Now, single zone climate control is the only choice here. You do not get dual zone automatic even on the Autobahn. The European and Canadian model GTIs give you the automatic climate control. Now, this steering wheel is one of my favorite features of the GTI. It's got the flat button, it's got the red stitching, it has the really nice places to rest your thumb. It just screams driving excitement, and it makes the whole interior of this car just really nice looking, and I think that every sporty car needs to have a flat bottom wheel. Now, the clutch on the GTI is on the heavier side. Our particular one may just be more heavy than other ones I've driven. Now, the 6-speed, on the other hand, I prefer Honda shifters for their snickety-snick feel, but there are some people that prefer this. It's got somewhat longer throws, but slightly, I don't want to say loose, but it's kind of just like an imprecise maybe feel. It just doesn't give you that mechanical snick feel that I'm used to in Honda transmissions. Now, most of the European cars that I come across feel just like this. I personally think that the ST shifter is actually even better than this car, but this car's shifter does go ahead of the Speed 3s, but I just personally think that the SI shifter is my personal favorite. You do get a stability control off light here, but it doesn't actually turn off the stability control, it only turns off the traction control. So for those of you who want to have some wheels or do some drifting, the GTI will not do that for you. This is more of a pocket rocket commuter car that's very comfortable and grown up. Now, the back seat of the GTI is surprisingly spacious for 2 people. When you get inside here, the seat does fold forward pretty well, and then of course when you shut the door to shut the dinger off, there's a generous amount of legroom here. Surprisingly, I mean, this is the seat pretty much goes back to where you left it. You get vents back here, which is nice, and then you have a pretty generous amount of legroom. This is very surprising. It's one of the things that really surprised me about this car when I first got into it. You have an armrest here with cup holders, and you have a little pass-through here to get to the rear seat, although the seats do fold 60-40. And then back here, of course, the materials are soft touch, and going with the GTI's theme of having the highest quality interior in the class. And then, of course, looking under the hatch, you're going to get about 20 cubic feet with the seats up. It's a pretty generous amount. Fold them down, you're going to get 46 cubic feet. Again, this car is very practical, and it's one of the reasons why I personally think hatchbacks are more of the utility choice, and I like them with my speed. The cargo area is nicely finished. You get that cargo cover. And overall, if you really want practicality with performance, go for the hatchback. Don't go for a sedan. Unlike any other pocket rocket in the class, the GTI immediately shows you that it's a German car with the fact that there's a strut to hold up the hood. No other car in the class has the strut, everyone else uses the prop. What you're looking at is one of the first turbocharged direct injection engines in the class. This is Volkswagen's corporate 2-liter TSI 4-cylinder engine. It makes 200 horsepower and 207 pound-feet of torque. You can hear the direct injection ticking away. Volkswagen's actually getting ready to replace this engine with a new generation that makes about 220 horsepower and 258 foot-pounds of torque. It's basically the engine in the Audi A4. This car is front-wheel drive. It does have a limited slip differential. Your trans choices are a 6-speed manual or a 6-speed DSG. Fuel economy is rated at 21 in the city, at 31 on the highway with the manual. Over the last year, we've been averaging about 25 on premium gas, so it does have pretty decent gas mileage, but let's take a look at how it drives even to this day. Now, I know you all are probably wondering, after a full year of testing, is this car still as much fun to drive as it was the day you brought it home? Well, the resounding answer is hell yes it is. This is still one of the best performance bargains you can buy on the market today. And those of you who are in the market who are looking to buy like a hot hatch like this would do yourself a favor by checking out a remaining 2013 GTI. They're still incredibly fun to drive. Question I get asked is this car still fast? Yeah, it is still fast. Now, the GTI may only have 200 measly little horses. I take that back, it's not really measly. This car has a good amount of power. This car is still incredibly quick given its size. The 2-liter turbo makes the most refined noises in the class. It's very quick revving. It makes a nice little snarl, and the GTI has kind of its own version of Ford's sound symposer technology, where the car does funnel in a little bit of intake noise when you get on the throttle, and it's just a very nice techie sounding response when you get on the gas. This car is just incredibly fun still. Now, another question that people tend to ask me is Volkswagens and their reliability. They always want to know, is this car a reliable car to go with every day? And the answer is, it's better. It's still not going to be as carefree as a Honda Civic Si, for example. That's one of the reasons why a lot of people buy a Civic Si. But at the same time, when you buy a German brand like this, you buy it because it's not as reliable, because it feels like it's built to a higher standard. It feels very German in the way the steering responds. It's very heavy, it's very precise, the way the shifter works, the way the engine performs. This car is just incredibly high quality in the way it's built and in the way that it drives. Now, like all the other sport compacts in the class, the GTI still has a firm ride. Now, people used to always tell me that the GTI was the most comfortable in terms of ride comfort. I'm not really sure. This car rides very stiff. Even with these 17-inch wheels, I think the ride is quite stiff. However, it does ride softer than a Speed 3. I think a Focus ST rides about the same as this car. And what you'll notice when you go over the bumps is the fact that your head is kind of going like this all the time. The car is very stiff feeling, which is what you essentially pay for when you get a sporty vehicle like this. Don't expect it to be like a Camry in terms of its ride quality. Now, in terms of the noise levels, this car is very quiet. The road noise is pretty subdued. The engine doesn't feel intrusive when you're off the gas, which is not what I can say about like the Speed 3 or the Civic Si, where the engine can still be relatively loud when you're on the gas. This particular one gets very quiet, and then when you put it in 6th gear at 60 miles per hour, it's revving below 2200 RPM, so it's a pretty refined car, and it definitely feels the most grown up. That's one of the reasons why the GTI is still known today as the grown-up's hot hatch, because it doesn't try to scream and shout for attention like other cars, and you just feel like you're having your fun, but you're not really shouting to people that, oh my gosh, I have the fastest car on the market, which this car isn't, but that's okay because it's fast enough for most people who look for this kind of a car. You can see here when you get on the gas, the car is still incredibly accurate in its throttle response. It's incredibly quick. It makes a very nice sound. Now, one of the things that you all probably should know is what are some of the issues that have gone wrong with this car in the last year? Well, there's a pretty good list. Now, the first month that we had this car, the sunroof refused to close. No big deal. It luckily did not rain the next day, but the reason being the dealer said that there was some kind of crap stuck in the track of the sunroof, so it was causing the mechanism to reverse and not close when you turn the knob. See here, getting up to highway speeds in this car at about 65 miles per hour, you're revving at about 2,700 RPM. And that is a very good speed in terms of where the engine needs to be. And you can see here, it's very quiet. All you do here is a little bit of road noise, but the engine just gets silent, and it's just incredibly refined. And on a smooth pavement, the ride is pretty nice, so I will give them that. Of course, 0 to 60 times for this car, they're about 6.5 seconds, maybe 6.8. The DSG, surprisingly, is the quicker transmission to get. So if you guys want more speed, I would suggest going with the DSG, and you'll also get the ease of use with the fact that it's an automatic shifting gearbox, not necessarily an automatic. So back onto my list of what else has gone wrong. I did have to replace the tires, but that's not really having to go wrong. It was an expensive proposition to replace the tires. The other thing that went wrong is a couple times the car did refuse to start on us. And it wasn't because we left any lights on. There was no parasitic load, and the car did start when you just had to jump start it. But when we brought it back to the dealer, they said that there was no parasitic load and the battery was fine. Personally, I think it just had to do with the fact that maybe the battery's getting old. It's about a 3-year-old is the original battery, but batteries are supposed to last about 3 to 5 years. But it was just odd to me that the dealer said that there was no parasitic load. Occasionally there are some warning lights that come on here and there. The tire light used to come on all the time. There's a little bulb out light that comes on all the time, yet I would check the vehicle and there's no bulbs that are burnt out. So little electrical glitches here and there. You kind of expect that when you buy a German brand. And that's the reason, again, people who love German cars, they kind of can get over the fact that you have to deal with those little electrical glitches, because the whole car itself is great. Now, other than those little electrical glitches, the car hasn't really given us any other problems. Occasionally, sometimes the speedo doesn't actually, or the analog speedo doesn't actually match the digital speedo. Little electrical glitches, again, I could probably forgive them. Actually, most of the times I do forgive every issue as soon as I get behind the wheel of this car. It still puts a smile on my face, and for those of you who are looking for something like this, it'll put a smile on your face too. With all that said, I hope you guys have enjoyed my final overview of our 2010 GTI, the MK6 model. Those of you who want to wait for the MK7, I don't blame you for doing it. Those of you who want to take advantage of the deals and the lease deals of Volkswagen ads, I highly suggest looking for the MK6, one of the last 2013s. I would recommend that you guys personally go with one that has the LED daytime running lights, just because it helps the GTI stand out. It gives it more of a unique almost Audi look to it, and I think a lot of you will be pleased. Anyways, I hope you guys have enjoyed my final overview of our 2010 GTI. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll catch you all later. One thing you all are probably wondering, if you're comparing the GTI to the Focus ST and the Mazda Speed 3, just remember that it's not the fastest between the two, it is the slowest, but the GTI feels the most expensive in terms of its interior, its ride quality, its quietness, and it also just feels the most mature. The GTI still will put a smile on your face, maybe not to the extent of the boost-happy Speed 3 or the kind of tail-happy ST, but it really comes down to your taste on whether or not you'll put a GTI in your driveway as opposed to the other two hot hatches.